If if Aaron, if you hadn't picked yourself last week, then my like throw him off pick was actually also going to be Malo. Just to kind of like, I don't know, this
Oh,
seems like it could be a Malo movie if I was going to try and sit, but then you kind of changed the game there. So,
So boring, no real point, and nobody wants to watch again. That's my MO, huh?
no,
I didn't say that
no.
about you. I said that about Tim and Hilty.
Oscar winner.
that
Oscar
is
winner.
that is
I'm having
exactly
fun
how
with it.
Matt Smith called my wife ugly that one day.
That's
It's the
okay.
exact same way
That's
that happened.
Thought we were over this. What is going on?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BTB Movie Club podcast. My name is Ryan Malo. We hope you enjoyed today's movie discussion. Thanks for listening.
And we'll do this. Hey, welcome to the BTB Movie Club. My name is Tim Larson here with Aaron Lashbrook, Mike Wilden, Matt Smith, and Ryan Malo to talk about movie number 241. It is Nomadland. We have no idea who picked it, but we're going to take some guesses. We have one more week in this crazy game contest of picking who picked what movies. I'm just going to guess that when it comes around to Aaron, he's going to pick me, but you never know. You just never know. So, without further ado, to lead this conversation, though he didn't plan for it, Mike Wilden, take the conversation away.
I am very effective at doing things I didn't plan for. Um, just so you guys know, I'm on call, so I may have to leave suddenly
Matt, you're the backup quarterback this
mid-conversation.
evening, just so you know. You're the backup quarterback. Melo, you're the third string quarterback.
All right, so we watched Nomadland starring Frances McDormand, who, quite frankly, I thought killed it.
As always.
Um, and yeah, I'm just gonna kind of kick it to you guys. First, I would like to hear from the guy that picked me first last time, Aaron Lashbrook.
All right.
You know, I just muted my mic and I couldn't find the button under
Sorry.
pressure.
Don't hit the space bar. Do not hit the space
Staying
bar.
away from the space bar. All right. Yeah, so I watched it tonight. I'm glad that once again I got to rent it for $1.25. And there was an extensive big blue screen that did let me know that I was getting credit from my wife's Amazon account was the reason I was getting $2.25 off it or whatever I got off it.
Ah,
So I do not believe I saw that screen before, but I did see it this time.
huh.
Um, I would have been upset if I would have bought this movie for $14 because that was my other option before I went looking. Um, yeah, Frances McDormand nailed it, but whoa, this was not my movie. Um, I, I, I don't want to say it was boring because I've already, I've said many times that's the cardinal sin of a movie is being boring, but I didn't get the conflict or the drama, or there was a part of the story that was missing. Um, I mean, I understood what was happening to her. I empathized what was, she was going through. The characters she met were, fairly interesting, and I wanted to, know more about them, or I was glad she got to meet them. Um, but when they moved on, they just kind of went away, and it was like I know it was a little over a year in the life, but it was just like a day in the life of I don't even know if I want to call her homeless. Um,
Houseless. She said she was
or even
houseless.
houseless,
Yeah.
because I think she was doing better than some that are perceived as homeless or houseless or the unhoused or, however you want to politically correct put it. She did work. She um, didn't have, from the outside, mental disabilities or things that, society had pushed her aside about. And she did have some opportunities. She had, people willing to help her out, take her in at different times that she chose, not to take advantage of. And maybe some of the unhoused are in that situation too. But she was kind of more doing her own thing. She was getting along. She was getting jobs. They were hard. They were, I hate the word, menial because they all need to be done. We found that over COVID. If there's not enough people to make sandwiches, it gets people really pissed off. So, you know, everybody's kind of necessary in the machine. Um, but she was, you know, at least 7, 8 different jobs they showed her performing. She was a hard worker. She wanted to work. She had said that. Um, but when it came down to it, I was just like, you know, this was a day in the life, kind of just following a person that has, I don't even know if I'd say a more interesting life than me, just a very different one. Um, there was had lost her husband. People lose people. Um, had lost a job. It was a bad time for lots of people. Um, you know, I don't want to say we barely made it through, but my wife and I made during that time just to keep things together. So it affected everyone, some way more than others. Um, but yeah, they had a little bit of a conflict, couple different times. The one that I thought was going to turn into a bigger thing, and it would almost been cringy, was when she visited her sister, and they were in the backyard talking with the real estate agents. I don't know if 2 or 3 of the guys were real estate agents, but you know, that could have went somewhere. That could have, got into some more what was the Big Short? It could have got more into like Big Short
Supergirl.
conversations,
Yeah.
deeper, angrier, whatever, but it stayed pretty civil, and she kind of let her piece be said, and her sister gave her the money and got her out of there. Um, but yeah, it borderlined on okay, at the end of it. I was like, yeah, the acting was great. Um, what's the guy? The guy who was kind of her boyfriend who went
Dave.
back. Yeah. Oh, and his real name is Dave.
Yeah, Dave
David's,
Strathairn.
yeah,
Strathairn.
Strathairn.
I got made
Um,
fun of for mispronouncing his name last week. I just want to point that out. So
that's why
How
I
do you
didn't.
pronounce it, Matt?
I have no idea, apparently.
Who made fun of you?
I think Hilty did actually. So
Oh, well, see, he's heartless. He's a heartless guy.
So we'll go with Strathairn, right? Are we good with that? How
If he
did you
wanted to
pronounce it?
correct you, he'd have showed up.
What'd you get yelled at for saying last week, Matt? You're
Yeah,
there you
he's
go.
I think straight heron or something. I don't know.
yeah, that's what I
Something
just tried.
wrong. It
Yeah.
was
All right.
wrong. It was, but
But either way, whatever he's in, he's good. I like him. He's a good character actor. He's probably, I think Jason Bourne, is that where I've seen him, oh my God, that's Jason Bourne. And usually it's some kid doing some shitty skateboard trick or something. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was okay. I'm not happy I watched it.
Yeah.
Um, but it was okay. I'm not mad that I watched it, but I'm glad it was what, hour and 40 minutes. So that's about it.
Did you get a sense of kind of, when she had the opportunities to get out of her situation? I've heard the same thing about people that are in prison for a really long time and they get out into the real world and they almost like prefer to be back in prison because that's just
Yeah.
their comfort zone. Did you get any sense of that, or was it just kind of more she was just doing her thing?
No, there was definitely, and that's another thing I don't think they really elaborated on. So we know she was, from New Year's to New Year's, pretty much. There was, a couple months or whatever, more than that. But um, so yeah, the whole like Stockholm syndrome kind of thing of it, like you're talking about prison. Was that the reason she got back in the van after being at, I'm going to call him the boyfriend's family's house? Um, or was there some, I think I would have, with my wife being gone, almost like, I don't want to start over again. Like, this isn't it. This isn't,
Mhm.
almost like she's betraying her husband's memory, you
Mhm.
know, so she was pulling herself away that way. And I don't think they ever really pulled into her, pulled out of her emotions on, what was in her head on a lot of her thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Do we know how long she was still in the town after Bo passed before the town kind of went away?
Okay,
I don't
so at the
think
start,
so.
it said that the gypsum mine closed in what, early 2011.
Yeah.
The Avengers that was on the kiosk came out in 2012. So it
Okay.
wasn't like she was there for 5 years hanging on, or.
Well, no, but there was Bo passed from cancer, and there was she talks about how she stayed in the town and kept doing stuff there instead of leaving.
Oh.
So there's a time before
Oh yeah,
2011,
I never put that together. You're right.
but I don't know what that time is, but she talked about how she kind of felt obligated to stay there for him. They didn't have kids, but he loved the place or something like
And
that.
everybody loved him,
Yeah,
and
because
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
that's a good
he
point.
worked in the mine, but she didn't work in the mine or anything like that, right? Like that's just she was just
she worked for the
living.
company as HR for a minute, but she was
Yeah,
also high school teacher and this, and she was just not just a wife that did jobs to help out. It seemed like,
hmm
he was the main breadwinner. I mean, but yeah, like she didn't really have ties to the sheetrock facility or anything.
yeah,
It didn't seem like. But yeah, I didn't put that together, Ryan, that he had, like, we don't know the timing of when he passed compared to when the mill passed or when the mill shut down.
Yeah, yeah. No, we might. I don't know. I missed it. I didn't know if anybody else caught it or if they didn't say it.
the death of the gypsum mine.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, thank you for your input on that. I'm still kind of trying to figure out how I feel about it. Because I do love a good acting performance, and I mean, Frances McDormand's fantastic in this. And I did feel like I was like it was holding my attention, but I also still like had a little bit of that feeling of like, okay, so where are we going from here? And there were several points where I thought, oh, is that how this ends? And then it wasn't the end. I'm like, oh, okay. Like it just kind of it felt a little disjointed, and I part of me wants to say maybe that's the point,
Right.
you know?
Just life.
Yeah. And so like on one hand, were you entertained, but on the other, you know, is a piece of art saying what it wants to kind of thing.
And
Um,
I kind of felt myself,
in
and
this
it's
case.
like almost in a terrible way, but like for a movie, it's like, is she gonna get attacked in her van? Is the kid
Yeah.
that she's run into twice, is he gonna turn on her and like beat the shit out of her? Or like my wife walked through a couple times, and they were talking about the van get together out in the desert, And I was like, oh, she did. She went to the van thing, and she's like, is it a cult? I'm like, it'd be cool if it was, but it's
Yeah.
not.
Well, yeah, that was the thing. It didn't feel like there was that much conflict.
Right.
If there was, it was solved fairly quickly for the most part. There was some ongoing stuff, but for the most part, like even the thing that threw me off the most, and then I'm gonna go to the next person here, it was when Dave went to like help her with moving and like pulled the plates out and they just fall out of and I as I was watching that, said out loud, I was like, oh no. But then, she sends him away, and then it's like 5 minutes later, and she's going to like hang out with him, and it was like that just kind of never came up again. I'm like, oh, okay, I good for her for looking past it, but I don't know. It just I felt like they maybe would have addressed it, being a movie and all. Um, but maybe that again, maybe that's the point. Matt Smith, are the Vikings on offense currently?
It is a commercial break currently, so.
Okay, well then go ahead, please. Tell us what you thought of
I had
That was
Nomadland.
very
I know,
courteous.
it was Quakers. Thank you, Mike. Um,
You're
yeah, I had similar feelings to Aaron. I was waiting for the point a lot of the movie. Um, But some positives, I thought it was beautiful movie. Like the scenes were, I mean,
Mhm.
obviously they used real outdoor scenery, so of course it was beautiful, but the way it was shot seemed nice. I'm not a big cinematography nerd, but like it seemed like it was shot really well. Some of the shots of just her and the nothing else sort of shots, I thought that was effective. I also kept waiting for something bad to happen. Like every time she was cleaning the bathroom and the guy comes in, and I'm like, oh, this is it. She's gonna get raped, or oh, this is it. She's gonna get the crap kicked out of her.
Yeah.
Or and I also had the same feeling about the kid she met up with and gave the cigarette to. Like, is this kid gonna do something to her? Like, what is going on? So then I started to wonder, like, is that part of the point? Like, is this because this was very like documentary style? Like the
Right.
people in it were real people, or some of them were. So like, was it supposed to be like, hey, this is a community of people that aren't weirdos and aren't out to get each other, like they're just out here to help. Um, I was surprised they were able to keep politics out of it so much, because it seemed like it was kind of just always there in the background, especially in the locations they were at. Um, yeah, she does a great job acting. I think she carries the movie for sure, but she has to because there's really no purpose. Um, I was fine with the movie. I would say, okay, it's average. I like it. It's fine. Like I can see why it won awards and things like that. Then I found out it beat Sound of Metal for Best Picture that year, and now I'm upset because how did this beat Sound of Metal? And we watched that movie obviously in this group. It also beat The
Quick
Father, which is fine.
quick question.
Um,
Who picked The Sound of Metal when we
oh,
watched that?
I
You
can't.
remember?
Oh,
Was that
it
Brandon?
might have
Who
been
picked that?
me.
Oh,
It
Matt
might have
picked
been
that.
me.
That's
It
right.
Yeah.
and on the note of the father, um, just because of what that accomplished as far as like understanding dementia,
Hmm.
because I was gonna say maybe part of the reason, because yeah, I was just looking at it as you were saying this, it won, Frances McDormand won Best Actress, I think Best Director too, but yeah, it won Best Picture, and if it was going against, some of those movies, uh, I was thinking like, okay, well, maybe just because of what it says about the homeless life, like, or the unhoused, whatever you want to say,
Right.
um, maybe it's just again, maybe it's just like the message that of the art more so than the movie itself, kind of thing. But if that's the case, then what the hell happened with the father? Because I thought that was one of the most beautiful, like, portrayals of like sending a message about a certain subject like that. You know what I mean? So,
And as far as art and
anyway.
twisting you and like the scenes
Yeah.
Yeah.
making sense later, and I mean, like I don't know. I agree. Now
I'm just
I'm upset
I
too, Matt. Thanks.
did I
yeah.
pick the father too? Did I pick the father? I think I did.
I think you might have,
Yes,
yeah.
you did. Yes, you did.
See? Doubly mad now. No, I get it. I just we've talked about this before and Hilty and Melo have talked about it a lot too. Like there's so much politics and going after it. So, I mean, she's married to a Cohen, and she produced this movie herself, and the writer is a woman of color, and all this other stuff that kind of went into it. I'm sure that had something to do with it. Not that it wasn't a good movie. I will not take that away from the movie. I thought it was a good movie, but to say you're the best picture over a couple of those movies just seems odd to me. She definitely earned the actress award. I think it's hard to what do they call it? I don't know if it's literally called acting in a box, Ryan. Maybe you know, but like she literally was like by herself most of the time
Oh,
in the
yeah.
van. Like she was literally in a box, like in the van, like and at work. And I mean, there's other people around, but she this was a movie that she had every scene. There was no break from her. She was it. So, yeah. So overall, I didn't hate the movie. I wish there was a little bit more of a point, or they would have just gone documentary style. Like that would have probably made it more like have a point to it. And I'm upset that it beat Sound of Metal for Best Picture
Yeah.
and The Father for that matter.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I watched this with my mom, and that was one of the first things she said like 5 minutes in. She's like, "It's kind of like a documentary." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess so." And yeah, I don't know. All right. I guess let's just keep moving here. Ryan Malo, what did you think of Nomadland?
So second time I watched it, first time I think I talked about it in here a little bit, maybe 4 months ago or something like that. I can't remember exactly why it popped up on my radar, but I wanted to check it out. Um, and it's I find it very interesting. I definitely see the lack of conventional structure and plot devices and all that. And I even wrote like no conflict, more like a documentary. Um, and I wanted to go into a deeper dive this time around because I did even I knew last time I went in and checked out some stuff like Linda May and Bob Wells and many of the others um, are real people, or
Oh,
that was just their of
Swanky, I
this life.
think.
Aaron looks like he's champing
Yeah,
at the bit.
no, I was just as you were talking, like I didn't realize that Charlene Swanky was Swanky and Linda May
Yeah.
plays Linda and Bob Wells plays Bob Wells, and
Mhm.
Yeah,
it just keeps going on and on.
yeah, yeah. I mean David Strathairn is the only other real actor that I know.
And they still name him David. Like he gets
Yeah,
his
Yeah.
own name just like the
right.
rest
I
of
don't know
us.
if that's his actual kid. That'd be interesting.
It's his
Um,
son.
okay,
That's his the kid who plays his son is his son too. That's weird.
there you go.
Hmm.
Derek's
Yeah,
Derek,
so
Peter's
so
Peter. Like they're just themselves.
so I don't remember if I looked, and I definitely wanted to and didn't this time. But is it true that Empire, Nevada, like that fate befell this town? Okay, so that's interesting. Um,
Oh, the
there was
movie's
a lot
getting
of
better for
little
me. Just listen to you guys. I have a higher opinion of this movie as it keeps
okay,
going.
there were a lot of little questions I would write throughout, and then they would answer. Like I put is the husband dead? Like I thought I knew, but I couldn't remember for sure. And then 100% they answer that. And I put no kids, and I was like, nope. They answer that. And then I put no radio because there's a lot of like just quiet moments where
Yeah.
she's singing a Christmas carol by herself, or like just other moments where I don't. I mean, I try not to be an iPad kid, but I definitely would want some radio or would want something on. And she had access to those. Like we saw throughout that there were moments where she had access to some of those things, but didn't utilize them as much. Um, I did have two questions at different parts. So when she finds the dog, the owner I think had a stroke and went to go be with family, and they left the dog, and the park owner tried to be like, "Hey, you want the dog?" I wrote, "Who could have left the dog?" And I have guesses for this group of who could have and who wouldn't have been able to. So, well, I don't know. I don't know the best way to go about doing this, but
Okay, wait. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Aaron's
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Aaron is not going to let you
Two
say.
different versions of this question.
okay.
Did I have the stroke and leave the dog behind, or am
No, no,
I
no, no, no.
Fern and I'm leaving the
You're
dog
Fern.
behind? Okay.
You're Fern.
Yeah.
I'd answer it truthfully either way, but they'd be different
Yeah.
answers.
Yeah, I don't doubt. I mean, there's no real stakes. It was just more, and none of us really knows unless you're in that position. But
Oh, I know. There's no doubt. I know.
okay, you want to
I mean, are you
share?
going to ask everybody? Is this like
Sure, sure.
that card
Tim,
game
what
where
would
you call bullshit on them after they say what's the scruples or whatever that game?
There's no real answer. It's just my guess.
100% I take the dog. There is
Yeah.
no doubt in my mind. I don't even care if
100%. I was yelling at the screen, you can't afford your van. Do not take the
yeah.
dog.
All right, I'm batting 1,000 so far. By the way,
I
uh,
I'll speak for he's not here. I'll speak for Brian. Brian takes the dog. And he
okay,
would hate it his whole life, but he would not leave that dog there. He would take it.
okay. Well, I knew he wouldn't be part of this conversation right now, so
Yeah.
I to truth be told, I didn't have Brian on the list. But Mike, Matt,
I, I think I could kind of speak for Mike Hilty this way too. My guess as far as Hilty would be he'd maybe react the same way I would, which was when the lady's telling us about a dog, we'd be like, we can't. I feel bad for the dog, but like, no, we can't do that. We can't for. But then when you walk out and you actually meet the dog, and it's like, it starts whining and everything, and you actually pet it, and you're like, I feel like either of us would have been like, oh God damn it, I gotta take this dog. Like it just I don't think either of us would be able to help it. I'd be interested to see what Hilty actually says if he shows up at some point.
And then you both
But I know
die
for sure
starving
it's
and cold in the van because you couldn't feed either of yourselves.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
I
reading
mean,
Aaron's facial expression and it said, "Don't pet the dog. Don't pet the dog.
Don't pet the dog.
Do not pet that dog."
So
I I
I had Wilden taking the dog, but Matt, go ahead.
I would take the dog, but at the first possible chance, I would try to find a better life for the dog. I would
Okay,
try to
that's a fair
find,
caveat.
like somebody who is sort of half into the nomad life. Maybe they were just on vacation or something, and try to find a better life, or take it to my sister's.
There you
But
Oh
I
go.
no,
would take
me
the
me and
dog.
that dog, we'd be eating out of the same bag of dog food. That's how me and the dog would live.
We all know Hilty's a heartless bastard, so there's no way
That's true.
he's there.
That does come up a
Despite
lot when
like,
he's not here.
yeah. Uh,
Ryan,
there was speaking of that
Ryan,
what
scene.
about
answer the
Dan Sears?
question.
Is anybody
Oh,
nobody guessed for Dan Sears?
Oh, he
Ryan,
oh
doesn't
wait,
take the dog.
no,
There's
Dan's
no
a no.
way.
Dan's a no.
There's no way.
Dan's a no.
So,
No.
first answer, and then I have a question.
I like to think. I mean, I guess it sounds wrong, but I think that I would err on the side of rationality over emotion, so I would not. I, for what it's worth, in that scene, the way they shot it, where like the dog whines and then she walks off screen, and then they kind of hold it for a second, like you fully expect her to walk back
100%.
in,
Yep.
and she doesn't. So
That
I
was
thought
That
one
is
of the
well
most dramatic
played.
scenes.
That is well played.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, if you guys wait here long enough, I'll go steal one of my neighbor's dogs and bring it in here. There's
Aaron,
So,
sorry, you're
no, that my question is, when you wrote this down in your head, was it
I wrote
because
on
I was
paper.
practical or heartless?
Practical.
Okay, thank you. I can take that.
Yeah, no, everybody, if you could give and save everybody all the time, we all would. It's just there's reality,
Right.
Um, so
Well,
then
it's
the
the
next
same
thing,
reason I don't have a dog right now. I live a traveling career, and the reason I was, you should get a dog. Like, no, I shouldn't, not right now. But I do think about that. Like, if I came upon a dog that needed help, I'd probably be like, yeah, I'll figure it out. Like, I don't know. I guess I'd have to be there. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
no, it's good. It's a tough one. I mean, yeah, I don't know. So the next one I did, it was a scene not too long after where she's at a gas station or something like that, like a nicer one, I suppose. And the owner comes out, and she thought she was getting kicked out. She's like, no,
Yeah.
no, you can stay, but it's super cold. You should go down to the church or whatever. And it reminded me of the coldest night of sleep I ever had.
Hmm.
Sorry, motorcycle driving by. And so I wondered if anybody had thoughts on that or recollections or any. And I'll share mine. I mean,
The
I can do that while
coldest
you
night of
guys.
sleep you've ever had?
Yeah.
Mine was pretty recent, so I'll say mine. I took my son to a winter camp. Gosh, this had to be 4 or 5 years ago, right towards the end of COVID, I think. And there was a blizzard that night around here, and so we drove up to Wisconsin. I had to stop and stay at a hotel on the way because we couldn't make it all the way to the camp. And we went to the camp, and it was a cabin, like we weren't in tents, but there was no heat in the cabin.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was just all like you had to bring all your own gear. So I would say that is probably the coldest night. And I had like wool socks on, and I was in full long john sweatshirt, and I'm a pretty heated guy. Like I don't get cold very easily. I was freezing.
Hmm.
That's the coldest night of sleep I can remember.
Okay. Anything
I
else?
I was like my probably late teens, early 20s, something like that. Maybe I was still in high school. I'm not sure. I think I might have been still in high school. Anyways, I was hanging out at my buddy Keith's, and I spent the night there, and we were just like watching, movies or whatever. And back then, like Keith had a habit of just like basically sleepwalking. Like he would talk and say crazy shit in his sleep, and he would just like, there was one time he just like I was laying on his floor one time and he like stepped over me. I felt both feet here as he was walking over, closed the window, went, turned off his TV, turned off his sound system, got back in bed, and he didn't remember any of it. Um, so one night, like he also really liked sleeping with the window open, which I have adopted as I've gotten older sometimes too. But he would do it when it was like 0 out. And so there were a couple of times where it's like I'm sleeping on his floor and I'm like, wow, it is really goddamn cold. But I remember one specifically, he's up in his bed and I've got my just my Letterman jacket and I've just kind of got that over me. And I was already cold as it was there. And I was like, I wasn't awake enough to actually move or do anything about it, but I remember feeling that Letterman jacket being pulled off of me, and I kind of didn't understand why. And then I woke up freezing and I looked over, and he, in his sleep, had taken my jacket and thrown it over him, along with
Nice.
all of his other covers on his bed. I was like, that cool. So that's off the top of my head, the coldest. That's my coldest sleep.
Okay. Awesome. This is going great. Tim?
I've, we've had the heat go out a few times, and we had to have at our last house, we had to have the boiler replaced. It was, radiator heat, and I think there was a couple of uncomfortable nights when we didn't have the boiler working. Most recently, when we were in Argentina, it's the beginning of winter there, and it was getting pretty cold at night. And this one Airbnb we stayed at, it just wasn't. It was made for summer. There were four of us there, and like they had radiator heat, but it just I feel like they don't know how to bleed the radiators or something because some of those radiators are warm, some of them weren't. But the living room was you couldn't inhabit the living room without having two comforters on you to sit out there. Um, and then they had in two of the bedrooms, which we chose. The cons, our friends, the cons went with us. We chose the ones with the electric heaters on the walls, and we just left those things going the whole time, like 24 hours. Like fuck this. And we blew a fuse one night, and so I woke up in the middle of the night, like, what the fuck is going on here? And I mean, the house was cold anyway, but then you take the heat element out of it, and uh, I was like, it was still pretty dark out, I don't know, 5, 6 in the morning, whatever. And Nikki's like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's so fucking cold in here. And she like moved the comforter and she's like, ooh, it is cold. And you know how in Airbnbs, there's usually a door locked somewhere and you can't unlock it, like you can't get to the garage, for example, or whatever. She made a call and somebody like told her where the key was to open the unlockable door, the door you're not supposed to go through to get to the fuses to turn the fuse back on. And oh man, it was a rough morning because the hot water heater wasn't that great either. So it wasn't like you could take a warm shower right away. It was like freeze all night and then take a cold shower. It was rough. It was rough.
Aaron? Okay. I got the wait a minute sign.
Well, I wanted to get my numbers straight. So there were several, and up until Tim started telling his story, like there were many high school, end of high school, getting into fall, like drunk in the
Just
woods,
sleep outside.
sleeping in a,
Yeah, done that too.
really cold. You make it,
Yeah. You
you
wake up and
sleep
it's
in
snowing out, and you're like, "Ooh, I
right,
shouldn't have slept out here."
a sun porch on a friend's house, and you're under a couch cushion, um, all that stuff. And then I was gonna say, I remember a night being really cold, but we didn't sleep. We had two record stores in Port Huron, Blue Moon and Full Moon. They were owned by the same people at different ends of town. And you'd wait outside, to buy tickets from Ticketmaster. So it was winter, and my wife loves Janet Jackson. And I think we were maybe our first year in college. And basically we stood out, and it kind of when it was really bad out. So I waited for Metallica tickets a couple of years before, and it was summer, and we all basically partied behind the store.
Yep.
There was the store and a fence and a bunch of dudes and a keg, and it was great. We all just hung out all night. Well, this was people lying down the road in their cars, just praying that nobody's going to get out and start the line. Because then once one person gets out,
Right, you got
everybody's
to
got to
stand
get
out
out
in
and
the
get in
cold.
line. So nobody wanted to sleep, but we were
Right.
all freezing. Cars were going on and off, so that was a cold night, but it was still kind of fun. Um, but when Tim started talking, so I'm currently in the second house I've ever owned. My wife and I, we bought a 725 square foot house was our first house. And then this house is substantially bigger. Um, and I had a mentor teacher tell me, put all your, as a teacher, you're going to get raises. You're going to get steps because, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like the auto industry. You don't start off making what a guy who's been in the company 10 years makes. They gradually step you up to that. So you got to work there a bunch of years. So, I don't know how it is in Illinois, but here, anywhere from 8 to when it was really bad, sometimes 15 steps before you actually got the top pay. Um, and we were both fairly new teachers, but this mentor told me when you buy your second house, because he knew everything about me, he's like, when you guys buy it, like basically overextend yourself because you're going to be fine and real estate is solid and you're both going to keep getting raises because they're built into the contract and everything, it's going to maybe hurt for a year or two, but you'll make enough money that, in a couple of years you'll thank me. Well, then the real estate bubble popped,
Yeah.
Oh,
and it was shortly after we bought this house, but we were fine. But we bought it in April. So we went the whole summer, everything was great. We started getting gas bills in the winter. And our first like gas bill was $400 on top of a $1,200 house payment in, uh 2004. Um which my wife immediately panics. Like, we can't afford to live here. So we would literally tell people, any of our parents that wanted to come over and just, see the grandkids or whatever, it's like, wear sweaters, keep your shoes on, because we didn't put the house above 65 during the day. And
Right.
it went down to like 52 at night. And we did that for like 3 months until I happened to take a mental health day. I stayed home from work and I saw a um, gas company guy walk through our yard. And I went out the door and like cornered him at my meter. I was like, "You have to tell me something's wrong with this meter. That's why you're here." And he's like, "Well, I can't. But if you were to call and ask if there's something wrong with your meter and give your address in about 4 hours, they will know the answer." So it turned out that my meter, because when this house was built, another subdivision was built in St. Clair, which is about 2 towns south of us. And they all had a meter that, instead of spinning whatever it was, I don't know if the math works out, um, because you get charged by foot pounds of gas. So it was supposed to spin a quarter time for every foot pound. So it would take 4 times around to be 1 foot pound. Mine was spinning once, so like I was getting quadruple charged.
Uh,
And it took a while, but it all got straightened out. And then we didn't pay a gas bill for 3 years because they wouldn't give us the money. They would only
yeah.
give us credit. But
Yeah.
we had
That's
built
fine
up
though.
so much credit, we
Yeah.
didn't pay a gas bill for 3 years. But those were very, very cold nights. And we had like small kids, and it was terrible. Like I said, my wife was crying. We can't afford to live here. And I'm calling my aunt who lives fairly close to us. I'm like, and they have a much bigger house, three, basement and 2 stories. I'm like, what are you guys paying? She's like, when it's really cold, sometimes it gets up to like $78. I'm like, we're paying 400.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, that's not right. No shit. So
wow.
like, no, like we had blankets hanging over the sliding doors. We didn't do like we hung up our laundry in the basement. We didn't use the gas dryer.
Right.
It was, kind of crazy, but very cold. So
I
thanks for indulging
appreciate you
me in that
sharing. I
story.
was a little worried with some of these questions. I'm like, I don't know if we're gonna uncover any trauma or anything like that. So I think we've
No, I haven't thought
navigated.
about that in a long time. So
Yeah.
Well, I had one written down for sure that always stands out, but then I did have a second one that popped in my head while we were talking through this. So it's so dumb, but the what I always think of as the coldest night of sleep, and I haven't figured out what the date is, but I know I can find it very quickly. A good friend of mine, Tim Burke, we slept in a like 4x4 tent in front of Target the day before Xbox 360 came out and PS3, I believe.
Yeah.
And that was so damn cold. And it was like we was on the concrete and just dumb. Like, but we did it. I was working as a teacher at the time, I believe. I took off the next day and just more for the challenge, kind of, it was just something we were still, late 20s, something to do kind of thing. And that was really cool. But then the other one that I actually means more. We knew we wanted to get a dog, and we were looking at this. There was a shelter in the area, and they had online pictures and stuff like that. And there was one specifically that we wanted, and so some friends of mine were getting together the night before. We hung out for a while, but I left at like 2 a.m. to go be first in line. And it was the same kind of thing where nobody got out of their car until they had to, but you knew who was first, and people were actually, there was literally a sign up sheet. So like I got there first. Now that I remember, I got out and wrote my name, and like people were cool about it. Nobody, but I was spending, I would like try to maybe sleep, for a half hour, and then I have to turn the car back on and all of that. That was a rough one. And then like maybe 8 or 10 a.m. is when they opened, and that's when Jamie and the girls joined me there after they slept a nice, comfortable sleep in a heated house. But we got Arya, and she was an awesome dog. All right, so that was a bit of a deviation, a little longer than I expected, but it was good.
That's great.
Back to the film. I think I felt the sadder parts more this time around, which I believe says more about me than the film itself, obviously. But I think they hit those notes pretty well. The loneliness and just the introspection, and again, Frances McDormand, just to convey all of that with nobody to play off of, is really, really well done. The one thing that kind of got me, I thought it was a bit of a stretch that she's often playing a pretty simple person, and then she's quoting Shakespeare. Some of that duality, not that you can't, but it just there were some moments where it just didn't always seem to fit. But especially with Derek was the young guy's name that she ran into twice. The second time with him, quoting that. I wrote Endor. Let me see. I wrote, I love the whole year in the life thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I definitely, like you guys have stated, expected, and maybe the movie could have benefited from some, I don't know, some more conflict or some more traditional, storytelling moments that you kind of expect because you're watching a film. But I liked that it didn't really have a lot of it. Even with her and David, like, we don't know, right? Like, she just kind of left, but they may very well meet up again at some point down the road, unless I missed something. But anyway, let me see. Last thing. Oh, stupid. Who was it? It was what's his name again? Bob Wells. He was talking about how his kid passed, and he would have been 33. And I'm an idiot. I wrote that guy's kid would have only been 33. I'm like, is he Charlie Chaplin? Sorry. Let me see. Oh, the only other thing, there were moments where I was kind of done with all the Steadicam. Like, I do think filmmakers, sometimes it feels lazy or convenient to me to do that instead of setting up a shot properly. The intro to film study guy in me tries to then justify it as well, and you could, right? Like the the steady cam could reflect her lack of structure and that kind of, like, you can get into that whole thing and make that argument. I don't disagree, and maybe that's what the director chose, but um, sometimes I like a little more structured filmmaking.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I think it's like, hey, if she couldn't have it in her van, we're not bringing it in our truck. I think that was maybe part of it, or just the consistency of making it look like a documentary. Like you want to believe the person shooting it is in one of the vans, one of the
Right.
buddies.
Yeah. 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 So anyway, so that's my piece.
For novices question, and that's for me. Why do they call it Steadicam specifically?
Well, it's a handheld, and it's got like
Mm,
I don't know if a gyroscope or whatever. Like, it's a whole thing that if it didn't have any of that apparatus, it would actually really look wobbly and kind of like Blair
okay.
Witch, and but comparatively, it's actually very steady to do things that way in a handheld manner, as opposed to, like, if they do like a dolly shot and all these other things, like, it takes a long time to set up lighting and to do all
Yeah.
that. But with just a person who's doing the steady cam, like, the scene that stood out to me was when they were dancing in the bar.
Hmm.
I don't know, that was one that choice I wondered about.
Mm, gotcha. Um, yeah, the one like kind of the piece of story when Bob Wells is talking about his son, I did really like the see it down the road thing. And there were the few moments of story connectivity we got, I enjoyed the swanky thing. Um, that kind of tugged at the heartstrings a little bit, and when she kept moving, um, and then later sent her the video of the swallows with at the peak and everything. It's like, all right, that's pretty cool. And then, they all tossed the rock, and it's like, okay, that's cool that they're following up on that. Um, I I have a question for everybody actually that I wanted to ask because this is a question my mom asked me. Um, do you think that you could live that lifestyle? Let's see, like whether it's in the van or otherwise. Like, do you think you could last living that lifestyle?
At
No.
52, no. At 22 to 32, yes. I totally could have pulled that off back in the day, and I have
All right.
half of a chance to do it now. But um, no, I'm a little set in my ways now for living out of a van.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm saying right now, because like
Yeah, that'd be tough.
maybe in my earlier years I could like any of us could have, figured that kind of shit out when we were in our younger years. But, she's not in her younger years in this. She's, closer to retirement age. And a lot of these people are in this movie. So just right now, do you think if you, got thrown in that situation, would you be able to last and, make it work like she did?
I think 100%. I don't think I'd have to. I would take family up on bringing me in or whatever, but
Hmm.
especially in like a year, like if I think the working aspect or having to find the jobs, short order cook and working at Amazon and stuff like that. The uh, sugar beet or those weren't potatoes, were they? They were sugar. It was.
It was a
Beats.
beet
It
farm,
seemed like it
right?
was sugar beets. Yeah, they're rendering. We do that here up north. Um, that the shoveling and carrying the sacks. And she makes a comment when she meets the guy the second time about her bad knees. I'm like, you're not doing any of that with bad knees. Shut up. You just carried a sack up the stairs and lies. That was the, only part that
Yeah.
pulled me out of
She shoveled a whole giant pile of rocks and boulders. Like, yeah,
willing suspension of
she can't
disbelief. I'm like,
sit down
lies,
because of her knee.
because my knees hurt sitting on the couch, you know. Um, but I totally think I could. Now, like, there would have to be circumstance like my kids had moved away and my wife is gone and stuff like that, because she would never you know do that or want to like she would
Yeah.
find a way out, but I think I totally could. you know, especially if it was a little bit bigger van or whatever. And I'm fairly handy, and you know, I don't need a lot of people, so I think I could.
Nice. All right. Matt Smith, Melo.
No, never. No, I think I could, like Aaron said, if I was by myself, I could do it for a little while, but I'm too, I like all my fancy stuff.
If like, live this way for a year and you get $1 million, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, that'd be another
But
thing if
again,
there was a goal.
I'm
If there
buying a whole
was,
bunch of shit with that $1 million. Like, um, the mentality and then like the stick to it. But I wouldn't want to. I'd find another way. I would much rather,
Yeah.
uh, you know, eke it out somewhere else, or figure something else out. There was an old Land Rover commercial that I loved because it hit me at the time where I was like, I don't know, 24, and like wanted a backpack across Europe, and that was the premise. It was like these two young guys that were like backpacking across Europe, and they were just like, very altruistic, and just, yeah, we're gonna do things simple, and then they hitchhike and they get a ride in a Land Rover, and they're like, holy shit, this is nice. I want nice things. and that was the crux of the commercial. I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of do like nice things.
I could be swayed really easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
20 years
well,
ago, when Clay, who I used to play music with, for his 30th birthday, that was his thing. He wanted to go on a 2-week trip and do nothing but open mic nights every night during the summer. So we had commandeered a minivan from an auto shop that he worked at. And I'm not going to say we stole it, but we made it accessible to us. Um, and we took my piano, his guitar, and a dog in this minivan and a small suitcase, and we played every night. I think there was only one night we didn't, but we made it to Lawrence, Kansas, and then all the way down to Nashville, Indianapolis. We made a big loop in the Midwest, and I like that. That was 2 weeks of the two of us just in a minivan together. I think I would have a shot at doing it. There's something. Well, I'll hold back the rest of that for my comments when they come around, but it's doable. Like if you're invested in the journey, it's doable.
specifically, like what Melo said, two different reasons. One, if I didn't have a choice, I know I could survive. Like
Yeah.
I could do it if I had
Mhm.
to, or if there was a goal, like, so there's a guy on TikTok or whatever right now, and like his goal is to live in his car until he can afford to buy a house.
Hmm.
And like every day he checks in. He's like, I made this much from DoorDash. I made this much from this. I slept in the Walmart parking lot. I had to buy gas, and he does all, and he's like, for today, I'm up this, and this is my total. And like every day he's totaling, $100, $200, $300, a day. And he has a projection, and he's like on goal to make it, to be
Hmm.
able to buy a house in like a year and a half. Like, because he thought about it and had an idea of what he wanted to do. But yeah, having a goal like that is one way, or being forced into it. I'm pretty sure I could make it work if I had to. I don't think I'd choose it ever, but
I, for me, I'm two schools of thought because on one hand, like like I was in Europe for 36 days last year, and that was great. Like that was fun. I made it just fine through that, and did a good job of hauling all my shit with me. Um, and taking trains and whatnot. So like if I had a van to keep all that, that would have been great. Um, but I also know that I like being comfortable. I kind of like being inside and comfy. I like the outdoors, but I also I know who I am. And I remember like when I was younger, not quite. I don't know. I feel like my dad was trying to treat me like he was kind of looking at it as if I were still like 6 years old and I was 9 or 10. And I told him I wanted to go camping, and so we basically just slept in the shed in the backyard. Like he just moved that, and I was like, this isn't the same thing. But I didn't say anything. I was like, whatever, you know. And I don't know if he thought that that was like if they fooled me or if but they didn't because
Yeah.
I remember the entire night thinking like this is some bullshit.
He didn't want to
But
go either. He was hoping that would just scratch that itch.
yeah, and that's no, that's exactly it. I'm pretty sure he was like, all right, well, we'll do this and then maybe we'll go another time. But he didn't ask the next morning, like so, you know, like I kind of just and I think the reason I didn't ask was like if I ask to go camping again, are we just gonna have to do this again? Because I don't want to sleep in the shed. Like
He's
that's
a genius.
yeah, he's a smart man. It worked. But because of that, like I don't have a lot of camping experience, so I'm just kind of like I don't know. Anyway, yeah, my mom asked me that, and my immediate response to her was, yeah, probably not. But you know, I hadn't really thought about it. So, all right, Melo, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, sir.
All right, Tim Larson, take us home.
Yeah, okay, so we've covered a lot. This movie was made to look like a documentary, and I like how many truths are behind it. So it's almost like it is a documentary, but it's an acted out documentary. And so the awkwardness of the steady cam, as you're saying it, Melo, kind of makes sense to me with that theme. I will say some things that I like about it because I kind of landed on the same place. Like, I don't want to go back and rewatch it. I saw it. I'm good. If somebody brings it up and I don't remember the name, if I see a picture of it, I'll be like, "Yep, I don't need to see that again." Um,
Yeah, I real quick, my comment, I kind of feel that same way, but I'm also glad I watched it, if that makes sense. Like
yeah,
I'm glad I saw it once.
Why?
yeah.
That was exactly for me when I watched it 4 months ago, and I was really glad I watched it. And then when it came up again, I was like, okay, fine. And Jane watched it with me last time, and
um,
she goes, "I'm out."
right, right. So here's the thing I like about it. I like that. I think you guys are right. I don't think you can call it a cult, but you do get to learn how social norms go within the group or within the lifestyle, which is something that you don't really think of. Because all of us were thinking, I'm really nervous for her. I'm nervous about sleeping in the cold, or this dude is definitely going to, steal some stuff or beat the shit out of her, or worse. Um, whereas, when you really don't have anything, what is there to take? And so it seemed like a society where people are much nicer to themselves and each other than the one that we presently live in.
Well,
You
and
know,
Tim, just because you said that, they were actually very giving. Like
Mhm.
she gave the guy cigarettes when
A
she
sandwich,
can,
and yeah, yeah,
lighter. The one lady called to Facebook and said, anybody wants this stuff, come get it. And it's like it was kind of valuable. It was obviously valuable to certain people, but
yeah,
I thought they were giving, as
yeah.
far as like,
And that's a cool thing about this is that's a social norm that I wouldn't have considered and thought of, and so it's highlighted here, and I would guess that there's probably some truth in that. Um, the scenery. Somebody talked about the scenery. I think it was Matt that it's beautiful. I think that's on purpose because if you're in a van and you're traveling around in the western part of the United States, you're going to see all of the mountains and the lakes and the ocean and all this stuff. And how many people that were born and raised in the suburbs have never seen any of that and would consider their lifestyle better than this houseless lifestyle, the nomad lifestyle, where I mean, I've done some traveling, and once I've seen some stuff, I'm hooked. Like I just want to go somewhere else and see more mountains and more lakes, and just to have that as your background tapestry as you're moving from place to place. I don't think it's an accident that that's in that movie that it's highlighting. Hey, this lifestyle has perks to it, and a lot of you guys who are maybe judging this person for how they live, you're not getting the same perks. Loved Swanky, and I know Mike just talked about it, and the Rocks, um, and just the fact that she was doing that stuff on her own terms. Like the one thing I did write a couple of things down, and one of them was, maybe open the rooftop vent before you poop in your bucket. Um, I wrote down though, like this is the gamble here is, Aaron's talking about the TikTok guy. Don't get sick or hurt. Like that's the thing. If you get sick or you get hurt, uh, that's the fragility of being able to keep living this lifestyle. And if you don't have a safety net, and it appears that a lot of them do, she can call her sister when the van breaks down. Dave can go to his son's house and be a grandpa. So they're, to a certain extent, they were choosing the lifestyle as opposed to having to live the lifestyle. So there is a little bit of a difference there that we have to infer. Like they don't tell you, and Melo is a don't hit me with exposition guy. He should love this movie because we didn't get to know a fucking thing. Um, it's like they had a production meeting and there was somebody who was really stubborn and was like, no, we're not telling any details. I don't care what you want to put in here. No details. That's how this movie's going to go. I wrote down always take the dog. Um, the plate thing that you guys brought up, I couldn't not think of Monica's plates and Friends getting broken on Thanksgiving when Chandler breaks them and he's like, oh, it looks like I'm the one that's going to die first. Um, there is a conflict in this, a plot point, and it is Fern and Dave and her deciding not to stay with Dave, even though there's no reason not to do that. And it's not an accident that immediately after she leaves, she goes to her old house. Um, and then I was thinking what was about to happen is she would go through the house, give like this great big sigh, and then drive back to Dave's house. And then we don't get to know which version of that happened. I think we're supposed to take away that that never happens, because if they wanted that to be the end, then they would have shown it to us, like the van pulling up in the driveway or something, and then that's the end of the movie. So
Would they have?
I, yeah, not with this producer. But yeah, I mean, I did also enjoy. They said don't go to the East Coast because there's no place to park. The American West is much more wide open than anything on the East Coast, as anyone who has traveled there knows. So I thought that some of the truths were cool, and I thought that, like the thing about Lord of the Rings that's so great is that you are completely immersed in that world, and although the rules that go along with that world, you just get to understand and accept. Like magic exists, dragons exist. Star Wars, same thing. You just get rules, and you get. I think this movie's kind of like that. Like there are rules to being a nomad, and you just sort of accept them as you're going through. Like, oh, sure, 100 people drive their vans in the middle of a desert in Nevada, and we're just sure. I buy it. I've never seen 100 vans in a desert or a place to drive 100 vans in the desert, but I accept it. And so I found the movie to be believable, even though I didn't find it to be all that enjoyable. So it's got some heart. I took something away from it. So checks a bunch of boxes for me, except for the box where I'm like, I really like this movie and I'd like to go back to it. So I don't know how it accomplishes all those things. And maybe because it does, maybe that's why it wins awards. Last thing I'll say is Hilty's numbers. This cost $5 million to make, and it box office $39.5 million. So it made 7 times
Huge success.
what it cost. Yeah, she did pretty good with this thing. So those are my
So
thoughts.
Tim, you had brought up the bucket scene. Like I thought that was going to be an opportunity there. I thought we were going to see because it seemed to come on like out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Diarrhea, and I was like, oh, she's getting sick.
yeah,
Once again, really nothing.
She's gonna get sick being around Swanky until Swanky talked about it being cancer because I thought Swanky had like some kind of sickness. It's like, oh, this is where
yeah.
it
There
starts
goes
for
the whole
for
campground.
Fern.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, and then you had talked about when she went back to the house and when she left Dave. Is it Dave? It's Dave, right?
Dave.
Yeah. Um, to me, I thought a lot about teams right there. And to me, it was, is she going to be team Dave? Is she going to be team Nomad? Or is she going to be team her dead husband?
Yeah.
And I thought that was the choice she was trying to figure out which one she was going to make. And she chose team Nomad. Um, and not that it was a cult or anything like that, but it was just like that was, the group that I don't know, she identified with or it was working currently. And then the last thing you were talking about seeing stuff. Um, I was with my wife, we in high school, and then, she played softball in college, and she went out to Arizona. I'd never been out west at all. She has family out there, and her cousins were older than us. We were in college; they were real adults, and once said, stay with me. It's going to be great. We'll have a good time. Got there, and he's like, "What do you want to see?" And I'm like, "I want to see the Grand Canyon." So, and they're in Arizona, and he's like, that's a 3.5 hour drive from here. And I'm like, yeah, it's the closest I've ever been. I'm only 3.5 hours away. He was like, he had never been there,
There you go.
you know.
There you go.
So he was like, I guess we really should go, So we went. We drove there, checked it out, took a couple pictures. I bought a Hopi Kachina doll, and we drove back, but it was a day thing. A few years later, they visited us here, and I'm like, what do you want to see? Because we live right on a Great Lake. Um, he was like, there's so much water and this and that, and he's like, can we go to Niagara Falls? And I'm like, absolutely. So we went to Niagara Falls, and he's like, I bet you've never been here. I'm like, I play a hockey tournament here every year. I've seen the falls, you know? But it was just kind of funny. So, but yeah, being 3 hours away from, one of the greatest landforms on Earth and never bothering to make like, it should be a school trip, you know. How can you live in Arizona and not, I don't know. To me, that blows me away that people just don't check that kind of stuff out. But
Right. What's the you guys Illinois guys, so not Aaron. What's the giant state park that's south of here about a half hour?
Star Rock.
Starved Rock.
Starved Rock, never been there. I mean, I didn't grow up here, but I've been here 25 years and I've heard all about this place and I've never once gone and it's supposed to be
It's worth
uh
seeing.
pretty spectacular. Same story. But Nikki probably has been there quite a few times, so she has no reason to, go out of her way to go see it. But
I'd rather go downtown.
mm,
I drove back from Boston with a friend so that they could fly out of Chicago to see their family instead of flying out of Boston because it was a lot more expensive to fly out of Boston. And she was basically like, yeah, just promise me like we can go see the Bean and then you can drop me off at the airport. I was like, okay. And I realized I'd never seen the Bean.
oh,
I've lived in the Chicago area, and I was like, she's like, yeah, so like she's asking me questions about it. I'm like, oh. So yeah,
You're from Chicago. Don't you know about the bean?
right.
No, actually, I don't.
Yeah.
I have gone to Billy Goat Tavern though.
I have been
I've
there
had the
too.
cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's different.
National treasure.
Um, anything else, Tim?
No, I'm good.
All right. I think I've pretty much said everything I wanted to say throughout the conversation, I guess.
Okay.
I didn't hate it, but didn't enjoy it as much as I was hoping I would. But there's also a part of me that kind of appreciates, it's in a similar vein to when we watched Foxcatcher or when we watched
Yeah.
what was the one that Trap picked that one time, that the horror movie,
Midsummer.
Midsummer, yeah.
Yeah.
And where it's like I didn't like those I did not enjoy, but like those I felt like I wasn't supposed to. And I kind of like because I got what the film was doing, what the point was, what the message was, and I kind of appreciated it for that. This one I definitely have that appreciation for. Um, but I don't need to see it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's a clean sweep on that, I think. Um,
yeah.
all right. Well, that's our conversation for BTB movie number 241, Nomadland. We're closing out this contest here. I don't have guesses from Dan and Hilty yet. Uh, got some doubts as to whether Dan has seen the movie. So he may be making a blind pick, but we'll get your guys' picks and we'll fill in the chart with the other guys later. So, as we did last week, I will go to Aaron first. Aaron,
Tim.
Who do you believe? Okay, Tim. I believe Tim picked this movie.
I was all right. So I can't not do it. So I'm gonna get
Yep.
two right. I'm definitely gonna get two right. But it's like, do I go with who I think actually could have picked this one, and then you sneakily like this is yours, and then I actually screw it up and I only get one when I could have been guaranteed. So I have to. At this point, I got to stay the course. Tim.
Uh, it's just you kept under the radar for so long. We had no idea that you were onto a pattern here. So I will go to next to Melo, who was upset that you picked yourself last week. He wasn't here to hear it, and so he was like, "What the hell is this?" So Melo, please feel free to vent to Aaron, and also, who do you think picked this movie?
No real venting, but rule clarification. Do we get a chance? Are we fully locked in, or do we get a chance?
We're
Like,
fully locked in. Don't
Fully
bring it
locked
up.
in.
That's because that's
Fully locked in. Yeah.
we're down a man because of that.
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
boy. All right.
made an argument I didn't care for.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, then I was looking back at the thing, and who I've got left. Can we hear what the next movie is first before I vote?
You would think, wouldn't you?
Oh,
No, I wouldn't. But let's open.
Wait a minute. Listen to who said no first. Aaron's like, no, I didn't get to hear it. Like he would have picked anybody different
hey,
anyway.
I had to host my own movie. That was some bullshit right there.
Well, okay. So I've got. I'm gonna.
I'm gonna.
I'm gonna go.
Do you
with,
want me to go to other people for? Oh, you're gonna go with me?
No.
All right.
I got nothing left. I'm going with. I'll tell you who I'm voting for next week too, because I'm locked in. So.
Well, one thing you don't have to ask is if you can double vote on anybody, because Aaron has blown that rule right out of the water. He went early
It
in.
was never a
on that.
rule.
No, it was not. But
I
just
guess
in
you
case
don't
you
have
thought it
to,
might
but-
be.
Okay.
All right, Matt. What are your thoughts on?
Wait, Melo, who was your pick?
You
Tim.
picked me, Tim.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's only two people who could have picked this, I'm pretty sure, and I've voted for both of them, so that's a problem. I'm gonna go Hilty. I think Hilty picked this one.
Was Tim the other one?
No, it was Melo.
Oh,
Yeah.
This has Melo written all over it, but he either played a really good game tonight or
Right.
he
Hilty
wouldn't have picked it after just watching it 4 months ago.
It's all part of the game, Aaron. It's
Yeah,
all part
exactly.
of the game.
He might have played a real good game today. I was telling Nikki
Degree
earlier
in
this week. I
acting.
was like, this sounds like a
He does
Melo
have a
pick.
degree in acting. That's true.
Wilden, who do you think picked this movie?
So as far as Melo watching this 4 months ago and being sneaky about that, I've heard that a few times here. Like, ooh, maybe he was just trying to be tricky. Everybody remember when we picked our movies for this and we all knew the rules of the contest? Yeah, neither do I. You just told us, hey, pick a movie
Yeah.
that you've
Tell
been
Nikki 3
holding out
movies.
on.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna do a contest. So like if we do the contest again, it's gonna be way harder to guess. Because
Yes.
at least this time it was like, oh yeah, maybe this is the kind of the movies this person picked, and this is the kind because if we do this again, we're gonna know, and so we're gonna pick
Yeah.
whatever the fuck, like just to throw people off.
If I was Wilden, what
Um,
would I pick?
That's
And I'm
right.
gonna
Yeah.
pick that
So
one.
that being said, I have a good feeling. It's just because precedent has already been set now. I have a pretty good feeling that I picked this movie.
Ah,
I love that you went last instead of first.
he didn't though, because I haven't picked
'Cause
yet.
I
and I
would've got
swear to God, I
3.
was gonna pick Wilden. I was gonna pick Wilden.
And you know what? That happened last week too, because I absolutely was gonna pick Aaron, and I wanted
But
Aaron
then I
to go
picked
last
myself and you
last
didn't
week.
pick me.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I did pick you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You guys-
And I
you
went
guys-
It hadn't
second.
been updated the last time I saw it.
I went second, and I was like I heard Tim say, "All right, we're gonna go in speaking order," and I thought he meant like, "All right, who like you were gonna be last because you were the host," and so I was like, "All right, cool. I'm gonna pick Aaron, and at the end of this, Aaron's gonna pick himself. I'm gonna be like, yes, I got it." And then he had you go first, and you're like, "I picked this movie." I'm like, "Oh, now it doesn't look as good." So
I love how this is playing out for me because I swear to God I was about to pick Wilden anyway, but I'm definitely picking Wilden now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
Tim goes
but
last.
but
Yeah.
Tim,
But
Tim,
isn't that funny that Wilden had to host his own movie too?
Hey, look at
yeah,
that.
go
Yeah, well,
figure.
that's Hilty's fault.
Assuming I'm not lying, but Tim, question.
100% why I didn't pick him because
Yeah.
he hosted. But literally, that was the tiebreaker for me.
Yeah, Tim,
Yeah,
why? Oh, wait, really? Oh, well, you should have.
that's
No,
fine.
well,
Whatever.
whatever.
I got
Tim,
all the rest right. It's fine.
It's just a game.
yeah,
Tim's gonna win with
Tim,
3. I got 2. Everybody else is gonna get 1.
Tim, why would you have picked me before I picked myself?
I felt this whoever said it, I agree. It feels like a Melo pick. And I was feeling Melo. Well, I don't want to say that way. I was feeling like
You
this was
did.
a Melo pick
Still
all
recording.
week, but I looked at who I picked so far, and I haven't picked you, Mike Wilden, or me yet. I haven't picked either one of us, and so I either didn't pick me when my movie came up, or my movie hasn't come up, one or the other. Um, but I went through them and I was like, did I miss Wilden? And I was looking through all the movies, and I felt like I don't think I've missed a Wilden pick. So I was leaning towards Melo, but when I looked at who I'd picked, I was like, I bet this was a Mike Wilden pick.
Yeah,
If
I
Aaron,
don't feel bad about this one, Wilden. You were not on my radar for this one. I was thinking Tim, um, or Hilty. Those are my
if
2.
uh, if Aaron, if you hadn't picked yourself last week, then my like throw him off pick was actually also going to be Melo. Just to kind of like, I don't know,
Oh,
this seems like it could be a Melo movie if I was going to try and sit, but then you kind of changed the game there. So,
So boring, no real point, and nobody wants to watch again. That's my MO, huh?
no,
I didn't say that about you. I said that about Tim and Hilty.
Oscar winner,
that is
Oscar winner.
that is
I'm
exactly
having
how
fun.
Matt Smith called my wife ugly that one day.
That's
It's the
okay.
exact same
That's-
way that happened.
I thought we were over this. What is going on? By the way, the Emmys were on tonight, correct? That's probably where Hilty is.
Ah,
At the
Now,
Emmys?
Maybe.
Yeah, I did see that when I was looking for the football game. Shit, Matt, I thought the like 2 nights ago in your garage was going to be the coldest night, but then I remember it was
It was
September
like 100,
or
it was like-
August.
and it was
so
like 100 degrees. Yeah.
It was the opposite.
that's good stuff. All right. Well, our last movie pick is in. It's time to close out this game, which means I better get to the trophy shop and order this trophy that I've been talking about. We have one movie left, and Nikki has sent it to me. It is from 2016. This is set in Ireland. The movie for this week is called Sing Street. Sing Street. Has anyone heard of Sing Street?
Definitely not me.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Oh, wait. What picks do I have
Or
left on my
maybe I
bingo
am a
card?
liar.
Sing
Is it
SING, not
SING,
not the weird-
yeah, Sing
Okay.
Street. I remember seeing the trailer for this. Once Nikki said it, I remember seeing the trailer for it. So, looks like a fun movie. Looks like a fun watch. So that'll do it for the BTB Movie Club. We will finish out our contest next week. Those of you who have been listening far and wide may get the opportunity to have a guest person show up. You may hear my wife Nikki's voice next week as she lets us know who picked what movies, and we find out who won this damn thing. We'll see you next week. That'll do it for this episode of the BTB Movie Club podcast. Thank you as always for listening. We know we enjoyed ourselves. We hope you did too. Hey, we are partnered with the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network. Please stop by and enjoy some of their excellent material, and have yourselves a good week.